your beautiful sleepy. I know to some people it may seem silly to cry over sleep, but I have been there with the lack of sleep, and I know you feel like you're lost and you can't do this and you're failing. You are not failing. It's hard. Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about the 2-year sleep regression. I currently have a 2-year-old sleeping right now. That's how I'm filming this. I have now come out the other side, so I want to let you know what I did, what worked, but I feel like I need to take you through sleep regressions and baby sleep in general to kind of lead it into it. I'm definitely a no judgment type mom. Like, if you co-sleep, if you sleep train, whatever you do, it's the best path for you. So I'm gonna share my journey, but I really wanted to come up with tips that no matter what your journey is, something could work for you, so everyone can take away something from this video, but also just share exactly what I did in a judgment-free mom zone. First of all, sleep regressions are progressions. So they could be a mental progression, something physical, or it could be something environmental. I always like to keep this in mind because sleep regressions are so hard on the parent, and it's always nice to keep in the back of your mind that this is usually happening because something positive is changing and growing within your child. So when you're losing it, that's what I hold on to. The first sleep regression you typically hear about is the 4-month sleep regression, and that is because newborn sleep is very different than when 4 months hits. The sleep cycle becomes a more mature sleep cycle, similar to what adults have, which is actually we do wake up in the middle of the night and connect between different sleep cycles, but we're so good at doing it that we don't even notice we're waking up within these sleep cycles. We just connect them. And so that is something that a 4-month-old will experience and have to learn and navigate and become just as good at as we are as parents. It's easy to spot this sleep regression because I feel like around the 3-month mark, you can kind of get into like a good groove with like your feeding schedule, the sleeping schedule. Maybe you're getting like 3-4 hour stretches. Now with connecting this sleep cycle, they range between like 45 minutes to an hour. So if your 4-month-old is waking up every 45 minutes to an hour and you don't know what to do, you're just feeding them, you're rocking them, this is totally normal. They are just learning to connect sleep cycles. The next regression I noticed is a physical regression. Well, it's a physical progression. So it normally happens around 5-6 months, and this is because your baby is learning how to roll over. Once this happens, if you use like a arms up sleep sack, a swaddle, arms down sleep sack, whatever it is, arms out need to happen. And so this can cause a little bit of a sleep regression because your baby might, have to adjust to this new change. Babies are typically swaddled because newborns have a response to kind of like fling up their arms and it will wake them up. But by the time they are the age of rolling over, they should be past that. And so this regression was actually fairly easy for me. I was more nervous and scared than I think she was to get out of a, arms confined sleep sack. If you never swaddled, then this won't be a transition you have to make, but when your baby is rolling over, you have to transition, and so this could be another regression that you have to go through. The next big regression is, depending on your child's development, another physical regression or progression. It is their ability to stand up or crawl. This happened for us around a year, and so if your child is in a crib at this period of time, you're gonna have to transition to an open crib, a floor bed, some kind of option that isn't gonna be dangerous if they're crawling out. I also found this a great time to transition out of the sleep sack into a traditional like little toddler blanket and a toddler pillow. I'll have the ones I love linked down below. And I did have a crib that transitioned into a toddler bed, so just like a front piece came off and then it was an open toddler bed. I found that this made the transition super easy because she was already used to her bed, that when I put the opening there, she still kind of associated being in the crib with being in the crib. Like, she didn't try to get out. I know not all babies and toddlers are the same, and there are a lot of escape artists out there. That wasn't something I dealt with. Thankfully, I dealt with a lot of different things, but I really think it was the fact that she was used to the crib and like not being able to get out of there, and I never really got to the point where she was crawling out of it, that she just associated being in there as like, she's stuck in there until I come get her. And I owe this to a convertible crib, so I definitely think that was key. And I should also note, in between all of these normal sleep regressions, there are also micro sleep regressions scattered in between. It could be teething, it could be a sickness, a leap. If you don't know what a leap is, it's really great for the first year. I use the app, the Wonder Weeks app, and you can kind of track developmental leaps, and they're really spot on, and it will kind of give you peace of mind of maybe why your baby is acting a certain way or responding to things differently or learning things differently, because it really kind of takes you through about how your child is changing, like week by week, month by month. And usually these leaps are paired with a change in sleeping habits. There's also environmental changes. Did your home change? Are you traveling? All of these regressions I'm mentioning though are usually very temporary. They're not permanent. You don't really need to, you know, switch many things up. Staying consistent to your routine is best. And, you know, of course, if your child is sick, then if they sleep in your bed, that's not gonna ruin your journey if you want an independent sleeper. Or if you already do bed share and your child is teething and up all night, this isn't gonna be something that will last forever and needs, you know, other involvement other than just caring for that particular need during that painful time. Now finally, why we are probably all here is the 2-year sleep regression. Out of all of the regressions, this one was the most difficult for me to navigate. I did figure out how to navigate it for us and make it work, but boy, was this one very difficult. Just in general, year 2 of toddlerhood is really the time your child is learning about their independence. They are testing boundaries, they are pushing limits, they are testing you day and night. This regression is so hard, but it is important to remember that it is stemming from a huge and important advancement within your toddler. Some big ways to spot this regression is your toddler straight up saying no to bedtime. Like, they are putting their foot down and they want to see what you're gonna do. They will run out over and over and over again from their bed to you to say, I don't think it's a good time for bedtime right now. Bring it on. Again, I feel like the best way to handle a regression is to understand why it is happening, to figure out how you're gonna respond. They are learning their independence and they want control over their life. And so one of the things I did is to give her more control over her life in the daytime. This can be something as simple as picking out outfits, giving 2 options of snacks, giving 2 options of activities. My foot is like super asleep, so I'm gonna maybe wiggle around for a second. But one of the biggest things I did while thinking about that she wants control and independence is to let her pick out the book before bedtime. I know it sounds really simple, but before, you know, I would just tell my toddler, like, would you like your passy? TV has to go to sleep, because we do watch a movie before bed. I know that everyone loves that. It's my favorite part of the day, so I'm keeping it in my routine. But when I would do that, give her the passy, she would just walk to bed before the regression. And so now I offer the same thing, and then instead of saying, let's go to bed, it's bedtime right now, I say, would you like to go pick out a book for me to read? And she would run into her room where I keep all the books, pick it out, read it, and this really helped set a new routine for us that I am now holding strong to. And this was one of the things that helped navigate us through this regression. We also, for the past year, have been doing a 12 to 2 nap. That's kind of the time I allotted, you know what I'm trying to say, for this, allocated. Not that you would always nap from 12 to 2, but you know, that was kind of like the 2-hour time frame that I would set for a nap. I decided to push nap time a little bit later in the day. So she normally wakes up between 7 and 7:30 now. It does change sometimes. But so I was doing like a 12:30 to a 2:30 nap, and I ended up pushing it even further to 1 to 3, and that has kind of been the new sweet spot. She falls asleep the fastest if I put her down at 1. If I put her down at 12:30, she kind of sings songs and talks to herself for 30 minutes and then falls asleep at 1 anyway. But she usually ends up waking up at like 2:30. She doesn't usually make it 2-3. I think just a shorter, later nap time is just more on par with where she is right now. This regression lasted about 3 weeks for us, and that was mostly because I didn't really know how to handle this or what to do. What really changed is one day, one nap time, I had my mom, I had backup, and we rotated back and forth, just calmly and consistently letting my daughter know it was nap time and we were going to bed. If she got up, there was not gonna be, you know, any activities, any snacks, any shows, you know. I knew she was fed. I knew she had a good, you know, activities and fun prior. She needed to nap. And so every time she would come out of her room, she'd maybe last 2 seconds in the crib. She would come out screaming. I would say, it's bedtime right now. It's time to go to bed. It's time to go to sleepy. And I would do the routine again. And then 2 seconds, she would come out. My mom would do it. 2 seconds, I would do it. We probably had to do this 30 times, but we were very calm in our tone, we were very consistent, and we did not give in. It was all within an hour. After about that hour, she stayed. She stayed in her crib and she took a nap. She took like an 1.5-hour nap. I was so elated. I knew she was in that mindset of pushing limits and testing boundaries. I knew for her benefit, she's still at that age where she needs that nap, and we cannot make it through the end of the day positively without that nap. She will be an overtired toddler, and an overtired toddler will actually have a worse sleep at night. Having, you know, appropriate wake windows and nap time, wake window for bedtime will just be a better routine. And I held strong to what I believed in and those boundaries, and it was that one awful nap experience that really set the tone. She now knew when it's time to pick out a book, and I get a book read and I get put in bed and the lights turn off and the sound machine goes on, it is time to sleep. Again, whatever feels right for you and your journey and your child, you know best. If this doesn't sound like the path you want to go on, that is completely okay. I just wanted to share, you know, that is what I did, and whatever you choose to do, I would just say be calm in your tone, be consistent, be strong, powerful. You got this. Allowing your child to express their independence throughout the day, but also understand boundaries and have a routine and structure so they know, like, when this and this happens, this is going to be the outcome. From that moment that I set our boundaries, we have had no regression pop-ups. There have been some moments where she will, you know, happily go down for a nap and won't nap. And in that time, I still consider it a win. We just do quiet time. As long as she understands the routine and that, you know, this is her time to rest or relax or recover, and that if she comes out, she will go back into her crib, because this period of time is not a time to play or watch TV or have a snack. We are all on this parenthood struggle bus together, and so I really hope we continue to support and uplift each other through this journey that is difficult and up and down and such an emotional succubus. That's not the right word, but you know what I'm trying to say. So if you have any tips for your journey, how you handle regressions or the 2-year sleep regression, or what journey worked best for you, the pros, the cons. Leave it in the comments down below, because I think the best thing about this community is that we can all share our struggles, we can all learn from each other, and really just uplift each other. I'm only one person with one journey, but we have this whole community here, and so I'm sure everyone would like to know what you do, what works for you, any tips and tricks. If you want to share your path and the pros and cons of it, I think that would be so helpful. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, leave it in the comments down below too. And don't forget to like this video if you found it helpful, and I will see you next Monday. Bye!